This is Weather or Not.
All right, happy Thursday and welcome into the first day of spring edition of Weather or Not.
Yeah, spring began this morning, 5:01, the Vernal Equinox. We'll get to that here in a second. But yeah, now days getting longer and longer, and the pollen's still sticking around. You all know that. Let's start something different, though.
Okay.
Let's take you coast to coast first.
Because there is no shortage of weather coast to coast. We'll start off with yesterday's extremes, bringing Peter Sinks, Utah, back on the graphic here at 16 below zero. McAllen, Texas, way down there in Texas.
Yeah, low 90s coming in.
I have flown into McAllen a couple of times. Yeah, for the hurricane conference down in South Texas. Yeah, you fly into McAllen. And there ain't nothing in McAllen.
And they go all the way to South Padre Island.
And you have to drive an hour to make it to South Padre Island. It's a lot of cactuses and Elon Musk rocket place, and that's about it.
Everything's bigger in Texas. Let's go ahead and show you where the weather has been a little bit more active. Overnight, we were talking about severe weather and the setup for that across portions of basically the Midwest. This was actually storms causing damage in Indiana, Franklin, Indiana, power outages, damage. Most of that in Indiana, straight line winds, but a couple of isolated tornadoes showing up. But it wasn't just Indiana, Jamie. It was also Illinois, where some ominous clouds were happening.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Really nasty storms developing across central Illinois, some of those all the way down into Kentucky, and as you mentioned, into Indiana yesterday as a strong cold front blew through the area. That's actually the same front bringing us our opportunity for some scattered showers a little bit later today, although thankfully it'll be arriving here in a much weaker state. Now that was on the warm and stormy side of the storm. The backside of it, once again, bringing a blizzard. This is the second time in a week parts of the Great Plains have been hit with blizzard conditions. Take a look at Omaha, Nebraska. Yeah, wrapping up the final day of winter with snow. Some parts of Nebraska into Kansas, all the way down to the Texas Panhandle, picking up wind gusts in some spots over hurricane force. Yeah,
let that sink in. And it was from basically Omaha, Nebraska, even up into the Rockies. Let's take you over to Colorado. Yeah, blizzard conditions shutting down interstates. And they know how to handle snow. Yeah. But when you get snow coming down as quick as they had, plus the wind, yeah, it makes for a messy travel, even if you're used to driving in it. So winter, of course, going out in big fashion over there in the Midwest.
You know, when they're shutting down roads in Colorado, it is definitely some big snow. Thankfully, that part of the country today is a lot quieter. Just a couple of leftover showers there across parts of Iowa, some leftover clouds and a lot of cold air lingering behind that system as we work our way into the day tomorrow. And I love the fact that you can see where that snow is still on the ground.
Yeah, and that snowpack is still showing up, especially as you look from basically Green Bay all the way just northwest of Des Moines. Temperature is going to be in the 50s and the melting process will continue. I also like that you could see how that's slowly receding. Yesterday it was a little bit bigger. Tomorrow it'll be that way as well. So just keep that in mind. Still going to be looking at a snowpack up there in the Midwest.
Yeah, into the southwest we go. Thankfully, winds are calming down. We've been talking about dust storms and again, those hurricane force gusts from the Texas Panhandle into the Oklahoma Panhandle all the way back into New Mexico. Those winds continuing to diminish. Good news for not only the dust storms out there, but they've also been battling a lot of wildfires and brush fires out there. So happy to see the winds at least easing up a bit. Still quite warm though, down towards Laredo, Texas, not too far from McAllen, 88 degrees into the 60s there in Amarillo.
Yeah, not that bad, honestly. As we go into spring, they'll deal with warmer, much warmer in the coming months. Coast to coast, let's go out to the West Coast and show you once again that system we talked about. Rain going to be the big story, especially as you move into portions of Portland into Oregon there, and even down through Seattle. Some snow showers expected in the higher terrains. A lot of cloud cover for the West Coast, especially even Northern California. That's going to limit temperatures as we go into that forecast, 50s and 40s. Where you get some breaks in the clouds, 60s and 70s, especially down there in Vegas.
All right, let's take you into the Northeast. And again, the system that brings us the showers is going to turn into some snow there across interior New England, northern New Hampshire, into northern Vermont into Maine. We'll see rain changing over to snow. A soaking rain kind of early in the day near New York City, Boston, likely around sunrise, but that quickly begins to pull out. Notice by tomorrow evening, clear skies overspreading the Northeast and turning a little bit cool again. Temperatures in the 30s and 40s there, although likely falling temperatures through the day, especially up there in northern Maine, New Hampshire, as well as Vermont.
Yeah, and as we go across our area for tomorrow, you'll notice there goes the cold front, there goes those showers and breezy winds. The gusty ones of 30 to 40 are gone, but we'll still stay breezy throughout your Friday. A lot of clear sky, a lot of sinking air going to be across the southeast, which means, yeah, a lot of sunshine, but cooler temperatures. Low 60s here for the beaches. Meanwhile, mid 60s as you go into the Midlands, and even still showing up a nice, comfortable one for Florida by all standards. 51 in Orlando. I'm sure they're pumped about that forecast here for March.
Yeah, spring breakers are looking good there across Florida and the rest of the deep south.
All right, let's take it to our first alert and look ahead to the weekend. And we talked about low 60s tomorrow.
Yeah.
This weekend looks fantastic.
I'm loving the look of this weekend. It's not too warm, a little bit of a cool night, cool morning setup, which I think is great for this time of the year. You can still kind of enjoy the spring temperatures. And then after those cool mornings, we do get that warm up. Notice upper 60s there for the beaches, low 70s inland. A very classic spring forecast. In spring, well, we're talking about the astronomical start of spring. That happened earlier this morning, the Vernal Equinox, as it is called. Meteorologist Jenna Greenhill takes a scientific view of exactly what that means.
Spring has officially started. Spring began at 5:01 a.m. this morning. Now, the vernal equinox happens when sun's rays pass directly over the equator. The seasonal changes is all derived from the axial tilt of the Earth, which is 23.5 degrees as it orbits around the sun. An equinox happens twice a year, during the spring and during the fall. Now, this happens when the Earth is not tilted towards or away from the sun. This provides equal daylight as well as equal darkness. Compared to the summer solstice, we'll see the longest amount of daylight and the shortest amount of darkness. Compared to the winter solstice, we'll see the shortest amount of daylight and the longest night. The spring and the fall equinox happen when we see the equal amount of daylight and the equal amount of darkness. I hope you have a great and happy spring. For Weather or Not, I'm meteorologist Jenna Greenhill.
And can we talk about, too, before we look ahead to spring and summer, longer days, what a winter it was. You posted about it this morning.
Yeah.
We've been through the ringer.
Yeah, it was one heck of a winter, one of the bigger winters we've had around here in quite a few years. So saying goodbye to winter. And another note on spring, Jenna was talking about the astrological spring. There's also meteorological spring that we sort of use in the weather industry. That spring is March, April, May.
Yeah.
Summer is June, July, August. Fall, September, October, November.
Yeah, honestly, it's a little bit easier too. I kind of wish we would just use that. It's
I think
3 months.
mentally that's what most people kind of think when you're thinking about the seasons, but you know, the real seasons, the scientific seasons based on the equinoxes.
Yeah, we'll certainly enjoy the spring weather. Unfortunately, you're going to have to deal with some other things. In fact, one of this being in our See It, Snap It, Send It. It's been a big talker all week. You're probably tired of it. Pollen being lingering around, and it doesn't only affect us, it affects some of the wildlife too. I've noticed a lot of the retention ponds, some of the pollen lingering around, but still, you look at the wildlife out there. This coming in from Paula. Our retention ponds in our neighborhood are disgusting.
Do you know why?
No, I mean, I know that's where all the rainwater goes, but...
Pollen is hydrophobic.
Oh.
Which means that those specks of pollen
that don't
actually repel water.
Okay.
That's why they float, and it's almost impossible to get rid of until you have a really huge rain that washes it away. Otherwise, when you get kind of small rains like we're going to see today, a lot of that pollen ends up just sort of sitting on top of the water.
Makes a lot of sense now.
Hydrophobic.
And even after a heavier rain, it's still
there. Yeah, it takes a couple of good rains to finally get it all out of here. And there's another view of the hydrophobic pollen. They're on another one of those retention ponds. Katie White, thanks for sending this one in. I've seen it, and I have a feeling we're probably going to see it this year, where it gets so bad that you can actually see it on the ocean. The breaking waves coming in will actually have a yellow tint to them because of all the pollen sitting right there on top.
Good old Myrtle Beach.
Oh, yeah.
Good old South Carolina. If you have a photo of your pollen or something that's probably a little bit prettier, you can send it to us by scanning this QR code. See it, snap it, send it. We would love to showcase your photos here on Weather or Not. Of course, we'd also love to talk about what you're doing this weekend. We'll be doing that tomorrow on tomorrow's episode of Weather or Not. Friday happy hour coming back.
The favorite hour.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, looking forward to it. We'll see you back here for tomorrow's episode of Weather or Not.